Welcome to the Venture Capital Podcast. I'm John Bradshaw.
I'm Peter Harris.
And we are here to talk about a VC-specific podcast, something that many VCs have mentioned to me over the last month. And as a VC, you always want to invest in winners. And as I'm now 40 plus, I'm in this realm where several founders have sold a company, they've had significant success, and the VCs are complaining that the founders they're investing in are traveling too much.
They're lazy.
Or they're buying too many Teslas, things like that. And as a VC, how do you look at this scenario, Peter, of this person is, you obviously want to invest in people who are successful. Mm-hmm. Patterns typically replicate, but I feel like there's a certain point when people get cash where they're not like Jeff Bezos, where they just go, mm-hmm. where they just turn on the play switch. And is that a problem? How do you think about this? Because I think the context is about 5 different VCs have discussed this with me over the last 4 or 5 months.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. Here's the thing. When you're young and inexperienced, it just takes more time to do the same amount of things because you just don't know. You don't know how to do things. You don't know how to talk to people. You don't know. You don't have the network to open doors, like all of these things. And so, once you've had success, it becomes a bit of a trade-off where it's like you now have the networks and the experience and the confidence to be a lot more productive, but you also have, you've got wealth, right? And it's really easy to get distracted, and people do get distracted. And so I don't know. I think a lot about Josh Coates. So we backed Josh Coates when he had just recently joined Instructure as the CEO. And prior to that, so Josh Coates, his background, right? He started this tech company, raised a ton of money, like over $100 million, lost it all. That company imploded. Then he went out and raised a couple $1 million to run a company called Mosey that ended up being, fairly successful. Sold it for call it $50 to $100 million range. But hadn't raised very much venture money, so he owned a lot of it and cashed out. And so you could look at that and be like, hey, he probably walked away with like 25-ish plus $1 million, right? Maybe more. I don't know. And so, was he really that motivated? And, he's talked about this on podcasts and blogs and stuff, other places. But, he said part of the reason that I went back and took the CEO helm at Instructure was because I was sitting at home playing video games, and my kids came in. One of my kids and his friends, I overheard them. His friend was like, "What's your dad do for a living?" And he was like, "I don't know. He just plays video games, And it was like, he was like, I could sit here and just play video games. I've kind of earned that. Whether you earn or not, if anybody who's wealthy earns it or not is a whole other debate. But he's like, he didn't need to. But for him, he went and he was like, that's not what I want my life to actually be about. And I don't want my kids to think that that's what my life is about and what matters in life. And so he went back, and for him, that was the motivation. And it was very transformative to the company. He came in and immediately was able to get the dev teams cranking harder, getting things done faster, provided a lot more strategic direction, was able to raise the funding they needed very quickly, was able to open doors for customers and close very large contracts. I mean, there were all of these things. And I don't think it was because he was putting in 100-hour weeks, right? I didn't keep track of his time. I'm sure there were weeks where he put in a lot of effort, but I think there were also a lot of weeks where, he was probably putting 30 hours a week, but he was getting the same amount of done as somebody who'd been cranking 90, 100-hour weeks that just lacked kind of that experience and exposure and network and so forth. So, I think it's a challenge. I do think, though, the flip side is it can go a little overboard where the founder is never really driving the business. They're really too distracted by other things. And, it's like the company is like a ship without a rudder and kind of loses its way. And so like, I do think that is a challenge. And that is, in my opinion, a place where you should have a board, right? You get into trouble. Like there is another deal that we both know where the founder was, not even in the same state as the rest of the company. And this wasn't like a totally remote company. Like everybody was in one state and he's off in another state doing all kinds of crazy things, spending all kinds of money, not really running the business, right? And in that scenario, like that's where the board needs to step in and be like, I'm sorry, you either need to come back, take the helm and drive this business or you're out. And we're going to replace you with somebody that does. And so, I think most VCs that have been in this game for a while recognize that when they do deals, they put in terms that give them those types of controls and levers. I think inexperienced VCs that are just trying to optimize for being founder friendly are the ones that end up getting screwed. When, those founders go off and do crazy stuff, right? A la WeWork. So I don't know. It's a bit of a balance. And generally, I think I would rather back somebody who's been there, done that, and been successful than someone where, yeah, you may be grinding super hard, but I don't really care how much you grind. Mm-hmm. What I care about is like, do you perform and do you execute?
So in your mind, you just care about direction. You don't care if a founder wants to go do an international trip once a month. They're posting about it on their socials. As long as they're still hitting good positive directions, you're okay.
Yeah,
is your approach. Is the VC gospel according to Peter Harris?
Well, I mean, yeah, I don't really care about FaceTime. I care that you're building a really good culture. So if you're gone and that's like hurting your culture, that's a problem, right?
Okay.
If you're gone and the company is not doing well, that's a problem, right? But if you're just really smart on how you leverage your time and, you're still like, the company is still doing well, then sure. I'm not going to sit here and babysit people, right? And be like, you need to have your butt in a seat working. Mm-hmm. What I care about is like, you need to perform. You need to hit the metrics that you agreed to when we raised this funding round. Right. And you need to be doing everything in your power to hit those metrics and those milestones. So I don't know. That's my opinion. Other VCs may disagree. And I do think from an optics perspective, it's not very good if you're, constantly posting on LinkedIn or taking trips and posting about it all over the place. For the same reason that like, I don't think it's particularly good optics for a VC to do those same things. Right. Mm-hmm. Like VCs get slammed all the time for being super lazy. Like, oh,
in the Hamptons.
Yeah, we're gonna go like chill in the Hamptons, and
Mexico, the new Hamptons.
Then we've got our ski trip during the winter. So like all we do is ski all winter, and then like yacht it up all summer. And like when do the VCs actually ever work?
They don't.
That's
just when they're associates.
That's right. Well, but you could also look at it and be like, hey, if your job as a VC is to do 2 deals a year and you knock both of those deals out in the first 3 months, 4 months of the year, and then you're just helping support your portfolio companies the rest of the year, and, is there anything wrong with that? What do you think from the founder perspective?
As the founder, I don't think as the founder you care. You care about who's going to write the check.
Yeah.
I think it's more of an LP question. I think it's always optics.
It doesn't like rub you the wrong way when VCs are posting about their, their Aspen vacation.
The founder hat this is the founder life. If I had an LP hat on, I'd be like, you're work for the money I'm giving you.
Yeah. But what if they have a really good performance? So it's like, yeah, well, like, what do you want? I have a really good performance. You're making a ton of money.
I think
putting in more hours is not going to result in incrementally more money for you.
I think a lot of it's with social media. It's optics.
Yeah.
It's perception. Perception is reality. Doesn't Doesn't matter how good you are. If you're the person who's posting pictures in my mind,
Yeah.
and the fund is going well, the LPs are going to look at it and say success must not be reliant upon the individual who's traveling.
Or they could look at it and be like, to my point, when you get better, it just takes you less time to do things.
For sure. And you know which shots to take. I mean,
yeah,
I literally felt the first couple years of my entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah.
You're just stressing and agonizing of like, what's my shot? Which one of 10 routes do I go? And I don't even have enough like cash to make the first shot.
Right.
So like you can't make mistakes, and so you just burn time.
Yeah.
Where now, like, I see other founders and I'm like, oh, it's option C. Go for option C. What are you waiting for? Just go. Like,
just go.
It's there.
Yeah. Don't waste time. Don't waste money.
It's that leap of faith. It's super hard as a founder.
It's super hard. But like when you have it, you don't waste the time, which means you don't have to put in as much time.
But you get there.
Yeah. It takes a while to get there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So again, it just depends. If I backed a first time founder and they're going on vacation, every week, I probably have a problem with that. Right. You're going to be like, dude.
There was
but it's probably also like the performance of their startup is also going to reflect that.
Mm-hmm.
But if I have a company where like, man, the thing is like just a rocket ship to the moon, and it almost doesn't even matter that they have a CEO, and the CEO wants to like go on vacation. All right.
That's true. I mean, I remember this is one of the first lessons John Richards taught me that I remember. He taught a class at BYU. He's a local seed investor.
Yeah.
And he talked about founders who he invested in, and then they buy a Porsche.
Yeah.
And it literally changes the optics, and I think it affects their next deal. And I think the people that long term I've come to respect the most are the individuals with immense just self-discipline.
Yeah.
It's the ones I can joke with them that are they're 50, 60 million in the bank. I joke that their credit card's going to bounce at lunch, so they better let me pay.
Yeah. And I don't know. I think it's a balance. Everything is a balance in life, right? But am I still willing to write a check behind a founder who maybe isn't as hungry, but they bring a ton of experience and connections and other things to the table? Yes. But I also think there is an element of like, you still want to back, like you never want to back a founder who isn't motivated by something, right?
Is there a part where you say this founder is too successful? I mean, obviously you want successful people.
Like if Jeff Bezos comes, well, no, I don't think so. I don't think it has anything to do with success. I think it has everything to do with more motivation.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so if Elon Musk came to me and was like, I got this new like startup idea, would I fund him? Even though like, depending on the month, he's the richest man in the world. Yeah, I would. Mm-hmm. Like his success and his wealth, like clearly does not matter to
really
him
good at
in terms
teams.
of innovation. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Innovating and building and being motivated. So, just kind of depends on the person. The thing that's super hard too is that I don't think most people know themselves well enough to know how being successful will impact their personal motivations.
Oh, for sure.
So you've also got that element of like, okay, well, I don't know. Like this person doesn't even know. How am I supposed to know if this person doesn't even know?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
you don't know until you're in that spot.
Yeah.
And I think different things incentivize us at different times. And your kid saying, oh, my dad plays video games might just be enough incentive.
Yeah.
So again, the reason I'm asking is just VCs have been asking this question or complaining or bringing it up casually.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, how does Peter think about this from a VC perspective?
So what do you think from an entrepreneur perspective, right?
I'm very cognizant of what I post and don't post.
Mm-hmm.
Not only for the investors, but even for employees.
Yeah.
And if you go to like masterminds of other service providers, they're constantly thinking about like if they need to buy a car,
mm-hmm.
what car do I buy?
Yeah.
Certain cars below, they think you're not successful. If they buy the BMW, the perception is they're paying them too much and they should choose someone else.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's just something that when I make decisions and when I post online, I second guess myself because I'm like, am I being true and authentic, or
mm-hmm.
What is that message being shared?
Yeah. But I mean, so I get that. But what do you think of the founder who, maybe they're like, okay, fine, John, I'm not going to post about my trip to Italy.
I think it's their decision. I'm just, again,
should they go to Italy?
they can do whatever they want to do. I'm not judging that. I'm just saying VCs, let's stay on the core. The core is, in the last 3 months, 7 to 10 VCs have asked me what I thought about certain founders that they see traveling a bunch, or they've mentioned them casually.
And I'm asking you, how did you respond to those founders? Like when they ask you, what do you think of these founders and the fact they're traveling all the time?
I'm Sweden. That's my role. My job is to be Sweden. I don't know what's happening.
John, I'm not asking for.
I'm telling you the answer.
I'm not asking you for dirt. But okay, so you just were like, I don't have an opinion here.
I don't know enough about what's happening, and I don't know what their metrics are. And I think you make a fair point. If someone can get double-digit growth month over month, and they're only working 2 weeks a month, and
but
that's
how
what
do
works
you
for
feel
them,
as a
great.
founder if, like, there's another founder who is going on like European vacations,
I'm fine with that.
once a month.
I'm happy for them.
And they just raise like 2x what you could raise.
I'm happy for them.
All right.
I'm not the one who's complaining.
Okay.
Again, the core of the message is.
Do you think that's true
VCs have brought this
amongst?
up.
Do you think that's true amongst other founders? Like they just don't care what other founders are doing. Like I'm playing my own game.
It's a
I'm
different.
running
no,
my own
I
race.
think
I don't care.
I think other founders get jealous.
Yeah.
I want to be at that spot where I can be going on these trips, where I can be doing these things.
You're just more emotionally mature than most founders.
I'm not saying that.
And apparently
Again,
VCs.
we're focusing on the core. I'm asking this question because 7 to 10 VCs in the last 2 to 3 months have asked me directly.
Yeah. And I'm just asking what your perspective is from the founder.
My perspective is I'm happy for them to be in a position in life
where they can do that.
Where they can do that, especially where people forget the last 10, 20, 30 years of their career was probably hustling.
How about this from because when you take on a client, you're in some ways investing them.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel? How would you feel about that with a client that was doing that?
I don't care.
You don't care. As long as the check clears.
It's whatever the agreement is. The agreement is
Okay.
Codebase does X.
Yeah.
As a client, you make these payments on these terms.
So you don't worry that this
No.
person's on the boat all the time, therefore this company may
No.
not be a long-term client because
No.
they'll eventually fail.
No, I mean, though I look at different metrics. How long does someone pay their bills?
Mm-hmm.
What's the status? Are they following a pattern?
Sure.
If someone wants to, I don't know, eat a bar of gold, I don't care.
As long as they pay on time.
That's their prerogative. Again, the context is our audience is half our founders, which I don't think this conversation matters to. I mean, I guess it does matter to, but probably very little. And the other half is those wanting to be a VC.
Mm-hmm.
And VCs ask this, and I thought for those that want to be a VC and you're analyzing potential investments and people who have had significant success, how does that affect your investment thesis? Yeah. And
I think founders probably care because they're probably like, how hard do I need to work before my VC gets pissed that I'm being lazy?
Oh, from that perspective, I think that's a different thing. If it's all about control. The less control, the more they probably care.
Yeah, could be. Could be.
The end.
I don't know. What do you guys think in the comments? Please let us know.
This is a good husband-wife episode where we're bickering. I love it.
I wasn't trying to bicker, but John loves to bicker, so here we are.
Oh, I don't like to bicker. Again, the core was VCs have been asking. The audience wants to be, some of them want to be VCs. How does this affect your investment thesis? That's probably, I should have made it more clear at the beginning.
And I'm just trying to pull in the founder perspective because this is a VC foundered podcast.
Sure. And as a founder, I don't care. And if I was in a seat, it would depend on how secure I think I was or wasn't.
Okay.
Cool. I literally, one of the founders I know, I don't think he worked that hard at all, but a private equity company came through and bought half the business for tens of millions. Yeah. So it's doesn't matter to me. Yeah. What matters is the life they chose to live as a company collectively, the commitments they made with each other and their investors, and they were successful.
I also think too, there is this misconception. This happens less in venture because in venture, you're almost always you're just running super fast. But in other businesses that aren't venture backed, you see this happen more often where people look at the guy who started the company and running it, and he or she's not working super hard, and they're like, look at this guy, like he or she doesn't deserve like this great outcome because they don't even work that hard anymore. But they're not thinking about like the early days when they were like putting in blood, sweat, and tears, taking tons of risks to get the thing off the ground. And now they're finally enjoying the fruits of their labors. Like we all have like these super short-term memories. And so there is a bit of that too, where it's like, well, you know, do they need to work that hard at this point for this thing to be successful or not? And like really what matters is outcomes, not effort. So
yeah. So like that's we have our answer right there, folks. The outcomes is what Peter cares about the most.
Yep, that's right. Ends justify the means. Just kidding.
All right. Well, go to bc.fm, comment below, let us know your thoughts, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Thanks.